Merci, ça te Antoine. Pour les bisous, pour Antoine, pour la bouffe, et pour moi. Tiens. 100. Dis-moi si je me le prends. Pour Noël comme cadeau. De moi-même à moi-même.
The characters were very very flawed somehow, very you know, very, I mean, they were loud and they were of course very aggressive and very yeah, very aggressive, but underneath the layers of verbal violence and the all the horrible things they say to each other, there was a lot of you know, there was a, you know, palpable pain, and it really interested me to explore that with actors. I mean, they're not obvious characters, they're not easy to love, but they conceal a lot of you know, many wounds, and that seemed like a you know, beautiful challenge, especially in terms of acting, and I knew it would be very I thought it would be very rewarding to explore these flaws and these imperfections with actors of that category, let's say. His legacy and his cultural, you know, yeah, his cultural legacy are these words and that precise style and vernacular, and I didn't want to lose that. So we knew that we'd be keeping the language, the style of the play. One thing we couldn't keep was the second half of the play was almost entirely abstract in its structure and its construction. It's just people on stage talking to you don't know who, and they're all standing on stage and not really talking to each other, and that really that couldn't possibly work cinematically. So I had to write, not write, but I guess invent a second half to the play, and take, you know, bits and pieces and just move them around and sort of, you know, play with scenes, you know, that came later on, or scenes that were early in the play, and just sort of build that half from, you know, that latter half from almost from scratch. Apparently that's been frustrating to a lot of people, not knowing, you know, per se what he is dying from or why he left home. But I guess the idea and what we felt with the actors and everything, because a lot of the, you know, the actors also had a lot of questions, and I didn't always have the answers myself. And it's not that we didn't want to look for them, or we didn't want to, you know, make the effort to provide the audience with answers. It's that to us what matters is that afternoon that they spend together, and the very little time they have to try to reconnect and talk to each other, which they clearly cannot achieve because they don't really listen. They don't listen. They talk, but they don't, you know, listen to each other. So why did Louis, you know, leave? Is it because, you know, he was just drawn to this to the city? It seems radical to leave for 12 years, because that's, you know, the story. He's been gone for 12 years without ever coming back. So that seems extreme, and you're like, what can motivate, you know, such a selfish act of isolation, and how can you leave behind everything, including all your loved ones, even if, you know, there's something terrible happened? And it's actually not the point. The thing is, by the time the movie is over, the questions you had in the beginning, such as why did he leave, should be answered by the fact that these people consume each other and are just... You cannot possibly imagine yourself living with these characters. As much as I find them endearing, they're, you know, they don't know how to love each other. They don't know how to live together. It's clear that someone, you know, who has the sensibility Louis appears to have, well, they're all very sensitive, but anyway, who has the sensibility he appears to have, couldn't live in an environment like that and would want to escape. Sometimes you're born in a place with people with whom you have very little in common, and it doesn't mean that they're bad people, or it just means that you're not meant to live with them and communicate with them, and you just need to escape, or you're gonna kill yourself. Not that I would really know what that feels like, because I actually do have a very nice relationship with my family. I mean, we play games, and whether on my mother's side or my father's side, it's just, but it was very appealing and appealing to me, that whole thematic, you know, whole dynamic of miscommunication and incapacity to listen. It's just, we live in a time where we have so many platforms and so many ways of communicating with each other, you know, all the social media and everything, but yet we grow apart and we just drift alone, each on our side. Because the dialogue was so theatrical in its own way, we at least wanted to compensate with being very close to the characters, so that at least we could provide the audience with a certain sense of what is going on underneath all the layers of dialogue, all that loquacious, you know, dialogue. It was important to, because of the prolixity of the characters, it was important to provide the audience with a sense of you know, intimacy, I guess, and just show them the eyes and all the subtleties that seem to be going on the faces of the actors, which is in the end what matters, because none of that, you know, none of those words or dialogue actually matters. It's what matters is what happens within, you know, in their silences and their you know, their smiles and how they breathe and look at each other. That's where everything happened. That's where the money was. I mean, the word exploration, when you say explore, seems, you know, daunting and challenging in itself. I guess that's the whole answer is right there. I don't want to stagnate in the same ideas and because I've been talking about the same sort of dynamics and the same, not telling the same story over and over again, but I guess that's what I've been doing. So, with different characters and different, you know, coming from different social strata and with different issues and different backgrounds, different pasts, sometimes in different times, but they do have the same identity problems. They're looking for themselves. They're looking for a place in society. They are misfits. They're trying to fit in. They often love someone who doesn't love them back. It's often the same problems and the same themes. So one of the many ways to feel that you're not stagnating, I guess, is to explore things formally. So it's always interesting to me to explore new formats or new ratios, even new. I mean, these are subtle, the subtle choices. Sometimes they're not very apparent to apparent to some people. But if you choose to shoot all close-ups and with a 35 mil this close to someone's face, it's a entirely different aesthetic than if you put a 50 or an 80 from further away. It's these little choices they correspond to the story you're telling, and you try to instinctively make decisions and say, well, I think this is what this film needs and what this story needs. I mean, it depends. That's the mother in the play is, this is the way she is. Strong woman, which I assume is a figure that I come back to for some reason. Nathalie Baye was a mom in Lawrence anyways, and she was diametrically opposed to who the character she's playing in this film. Comes and goes, I guess. It's some characters are stronger and some others are, not as strong, I guess. In Mommy, you have the girl next door, the girl across the street actually, who's a mother as well, but who's I think a very strong character as well, but in a different way, in a less expressive, less Latin way than Di. So. And as far as I'm concerned, all characters in It's Only the End of the World are as strongly tempered as Martine is. But yeah, mother figures are, I don't know, I see them as strong. Although I don't think of Diane and Martine as comparable in any way. In terms of age, in terms of behavior, in terms of tastes, in terms of background, they're completely different women, and comparisons have been, a lot of people have compared them, and it's just, I understand, but it's just, one dresses as a teen, and the other is that there's of course an age gap between them both, and they have different issues, they have different lives, they live with different means, they come from a different background. Not all strong women are the same women.